What's good, YouTube? Masex back with another video, and today we're looking at the top 5 edge rushers. Actually, today we're looking at the top 6 edge rushers. There's actually a tie for 5th place on this as we're continuing the series for my positional rankings. In the last video, we looked at air traffic control, the top 5 corners. Make sure you look at that if you haven't already. And so yeah, it was a tie at 5th. I went back and forth for a while and I just said, screw it, I gotta put both of them on here because I like them that much. If you're new to the channel, definitely like and subscribe to the video. You know how the YouTube algorithm works, man. Let's go ahead and get into it. Top 6 defensive ends, edge rushers, whatever the hell you want to call it. Without further ado, let's get to it. Let's go ahead and get things started. We got a tie for 5th place right now. We're going to go ahead and get things started with Mykel Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia, listed at 6'4", 260 pounds. Been on a few videos in the past, Mel Kiper videos and whatnot. Mykel Williams is actually one of my favorite guys. Could be a day 1 pick. Right now, where it stands, I grade him more as a late day 1, early day 2 for many good reasons. The ideal size that you're looking for in an NFL edge rusher, 6'4", 260 is his listed measurements. So that's the ideal size. Probably has the highest potential in the entire edge room. And as I mentioned in a previous video, you can't really go off of stats with Georgia defensive prospects just because they're so stacked and they do a lot of rotations. But what I like about Mykel Williams is that he has a reliable move. He has a go-to move, which you don't always see that at the college level, having something that you can pull out your bag when you need to make a play. And that's his arm over swing move, or at least that's what I'm going to call it. He has the lanky arms. He can get his hands on the tackle before the tackle gets his hands on him. And then you combine that with an explosive first step. He does cause a lot of headaches for offensive tackles at the college level. The biggest thing you really just want to see, and why he's a little lower for me than you may see on other big boards, is just the consistency. We've seen guys with a lot of potential, and potential is a good thing, but you got to live up to it. And I just want to see a little bit more consistent production. Realistically be the #1 edge rusher in this class we look up 5 years from now. All right, and the other prospect tied for 5th that I just couldn't leave off here is Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State, listed at 6'4", 265 pounds, former 5-star recruit. I believe at one time during his high school process, he was the #1 ranked player from his class. His junior year, he tore his MCL, so he made news because he completely opted out of his senior year and just focused on the next step, which was Ohio State. And I thought that was pretty groundbreaking at the time. You really didn't hear about high school players foregoing years of high school. So excellent build. I mean, you look at him, he has an intimidating presence. He looks like a weight room warrior, and he plays with it, and he also has motor as well. So you combine a lot of that, and I feel he's a prospect you can place in multiple schemes at the next level. Has a good pass rush package, good technique, loves the bull rush, which, I mean, like I said, physically he's the type of guy that can do that. Very strong player. I really feel he's a little stiff. Doesn't really have that elite bend that you want to see bending the corner, getting after the quarterback, like some of the other elite pass rushers that we're going to talk about here a little bit later. I project average athleticism on tape. Not to say that he's non-athletic, but just not as athletic. Place concern, at least for me, on what his ceiling would be in the NFL. But I really like Jack Sawyer. All right, my #4 edge rusher, Shemar Stewart out of Texas A&M, listed at 6'5½", 290 pounds. So just out the gate, I mean, that size is pretty imposing. It's going to be intriguing for GMs and all those alike. I honestly thought he was 265, 270. So to know that he was 25 pounds bigger than what I even thought, pretty amazing, particularly when you talk about that explosive first step. He's fast. He has speed to power. He's able to convert that with ease, honestly speaking. A lot of false steps, a lot of wasted movement. The next level, that's going to get you in trouble. And I do want to see him get his hands and engage the contact with the tackle before the tackle touches him. So I do want to see him touch the O-lineman before they're able to get their hands on him. Utilize that wingspan you have at about 6'6" and get that guy out the way so you can wreak havoc. I still see him as a day 1 guy potentially, and it wouldn't surprise me if he moves up higher between now and the draft. But there are some technical issues, things that can be coached as well, and if he lives up to the potential, can be a very dominant guy at the next level. Very dominant. On to number 3, one of my favorite players in the entire class, offense or defense. That's Pearce Jr. out of Tennessee, listed at 6'4", 243 pounds. Has been on several videos over the last 6-7 months. At one point was on a lot of big boards in early mock drafts, the number 1 player in this 2025 class. Still one of the best first steps in all of college football, though his stock and production hasn't lived up in his true junior year as what we were expecting going into. I really think that it's just one of those cases where numbers don't tell the full story. Even on film, he still looks like an elite edge rusher. Offenses are scheming against him. Now he's listed at 243 on the lighter end. I do have my concerns about strength, and as I mentioned, some phases he does play a lot bigger than this 240 list. But then there's been times where college level offensive tackles have taken him to the ground that I feel have no business doing that. So it does give me a cause to pause as far as the next level with grown men, NFL offensive tackles, particularly in the running game. I have my concerns. And his versatility, I sometimes question if he lives up to his potential. He can be a 15 sack a year type of guy when he's in his prime. But if he does not, he will be one of those third down pass rush specialists. All right, we're in the top 2 now. My number 2 edge rusher is Nic Scourton. I always mispronounce his name, but Nic Scourton goes to Texas A&M, formerly of Purdue, listed at 6'3", 285 pounds. I've talked about this guy a million times. Size, almost 300 pounds, but moves like an explosive 250-pound linebacker. Very versatile. I feel can play really any position on the defensive line. I've seen him drop into coverage even though that's not his forte. He looks pretty comfortable in space. Even at that size, scheme versatility is always premium at the next level. Has the production. He's probably going to be a top 12 pick. And my number 1 edge rusher, at this point, it's starting to turn into a consensus with Abdul Carter out of Penn State, listed at 6'3", 252 pounds. Seems like Penn State, really, since Micah Parsons every year has some athletic freak coming off of the edge, wearing that trademark number 11 set by Micah Parsons. It just adds more of a buzz to it. But as I mentioned, rare athletic gifts. He looks like a 4'4" guy. I know we saw Chop Robinson out of Penn State last year impress a lot of people running that 4'4". Abdul Carter, I think, is next up. I don't think he's 4'3" like Micah Parsons, who's a generational defensive prospect. But Abdul Carter, I think, has all pro written all over him. Looks like he can run 4.45. Rumored that he has a 4.3 shuttle, but his acceleration and closing speed is second to none. Has that elite bend, wingspan, very instinctual, understands the game. That's the awareness skill trait if you like Madden or NCAA. Very high awareness. False steps a lot, which prevents him from covering more ground. Combining that with his athletic gifts, if he can get coached, this guy is going to be the real deal, like a Nick Bosa type player. All right, there you have it. These are my top 6 edge rushers for the 2025 class. It's the first version, as I mentioned. A lot of time between now and April. There's going to be pro days, combine. So as Stephen A. Smith said, it's fluid. Now, if you made it this far in the video, I deeply appreciate it. And if you haven't already, definitely like and subscribe to this channel. As I always say, I appreciate all the support that I get. We're almost at 1K. Obviously, I couldn't do that without you guys. And we got the next position coming up, so be on the lookout for that. I may go offensive. I may keep it on my defensive, but just stay tuned and you'll be able to figure that out very, very soon. But as I said in the last video, I got to get back to work. Lunch break's about over, so I'm going to go ahead and stuff this down my mouth and get back to work. I'll see y'all in the next video. Cheer.